Over time, the nut on the build chamber's Z-axis lead screw can degrade and leave a black residue in the grease on the lead screw. Loose powder can also contaminate the grease. This debris can cause the print bed to stall or generate noise during printing. Use this guide to clean and lubricate the Z-axis lead screw on a Fuse 1 generation build chamber. If this video helps you solve your printer's issue, please like the video, and thanks for watching. First, we will prepare the build chamber and a dust-free workspace for cleaning and lubricating the Z-axis lead screw. If the build chamber has recently been used for a print and contains a powder cake, empty the build chamber using a Fuse sift. Even if the build chamber is already empty, fully raise the print bed using the controls on the Fuse sift or the Motor Moves menu on the printer touchscreen. Use the vacuum attached to the Fuse sift to clean the build chamber. Vacuum the print bed and the top of the build chamber to remove any loose powder and prevent contamination of the lead screw grease or your workspace. Lastly, clear a workspace around your build chamber. Ensure that the workspace is well ventilated and free of dust. Next, we will be removing the build chamber rear shell. First, using a 2.5mm hex driver, loosen and remove the two M4 by 10mm screws securing the build chamber handle to the rear shell. Leave the other two screws in place. Repeat on the other side of the build chamber. Use a 2mm hex driver to remove the M3 by 6mm screws securing the rear shell to the build chamber. There are 15 screws in total, 6 screws on the left and right sides of the build chamber, and 3 screws on the rear. Set the screws aside. Grip the rear shell and pull it away from the build chamber. Set the rear shell aside. Next, we will clean the Z-axis lead screw. First, the lead screw is protected by 2 rubber baffles, secured to either side of the housing that holds the lead screw nut. When the print bed is at the top of the build chamber, the upper baffle is fully compressed. The lower baffle must be removed to access the lead screw for cleaning and relubrication. Use a 2mm ball end hex driver to loosen and remove the 4 M3 by 6mm screws securing the lower baffle. These screws are accessible from the bottom side of the lead screw nut housing, which sits between the 2 baffles. Repeat for the 4 screws on the bottom of the build chamber, which secure the lower baffle to the body of the build chamber. Set the screws aside. After the screws have been removed, compress the lower baffle and slide it off of the lead screw. Next, gently wipe down the lead screw and lead screw nut with a dry paper towel and cotton swabs. Note that the grease used on the lead screw may cause skin irritation or an allergic skin reaction. Wear gloves when interacting with the Z-axis lead screw. Seat 1/2 of the lead screw thread cleaning tool on the threads at the bottom of the lead screw with the embossed arrow pointing up. Snap the other half of the tool onto the first half, fully enclosing the lead screw. The tool should snap closed without significant resistance and should spin freely on the lead screw. Rotate the cleaning tool so that the tool moves upwards in the direction of the arrows. Continue rotating the tool until it reaches the lead screw nut. Unclip the lead screw thread cleaning tool. Remove the tool from the printer cavity. Gently wipe down the Z-axis lead screw with a dry paper towel. Next, we will lubricate the Z-axis lead screw. First, place a small amount of grease on an applicator such as a tongue depressor or coffee stirrer. Apply small amounts of the new grease along the length of the Z-axis lead screw. Using your gloved fingers, spread the grease along the Z-axis lead screw. After cleaning and lubricating the Z-axis lead screw, reinstall the lower baffle and the build chamber's rear shell. Turn the build chamber upside down and rest it on its top surface. Compress the lower baffle and slide it onto the lead screw. Align the unthreaded screw holes in the metal bellow flange with the holes in the lip of the rubber bellow and the threaded holes in the nut housing. Loosely thread the 4 M3 by 6mm screws through the unthreaded holes in the bellow flange and into the threaded holes in the nut housing. Use a 2mm ball end hex driver to tighten the screws until finger tight. Do not over-tighten. You may need to manually rotate the bevel gear to position the lead screw nut housing for easier access. Repeat for the 4 screws securing the lower baffle on the bottom of the build chamber. Slide the rear shell onto the build chamber, ensuring that the screw holes in the rear shell align with the corresponding holes in the build chamber frame and handle. Thread the 15 M3 by 6mm rear shell screws into the screw holes in the rear shell, 6 on the left and right sides and 3 on the rear. Use a 2mm hex driver to tighten the screws until finger tight. Thread 2 M4 by 10mm screws into the screw holes on the side of the handle. Use a 2.5mm hex driver to tighten the screws until finger tight, securing the handle to the rear shell. Repeat on the other side of the build chamber. After reinstalling the build chamber's rear shell, perform final checks. Insert the build chamber into the Fuse 1 generation printer or Fuse SIP. Close the build chamber latch and connect the build chamber plug to the machine. Move the print bed up and down using the Fuse Sift control panel or the Motor Moves menu on the printer to evenly spread the new lubricant along the build chamber lead screw. Insert the build chamber into the printer and start a print. Monitor the build chamber to ensure that the print bed moves smoothly and without unusual noises. Need help? Contact Formlabs support or your certified service provider for additional support. Did this video help you get printing again? If so, please leave a like on our video and subscribe for more content. What video would you like to see next? Leave a comment telling us more.